Yamina's discourse, as well as afterwards at the end. And may it be a blessed and fruitful session for all of us. And without further delay, I turn to Dr. Yamina to lead us in tonight's session. May it be a blessed and fruitful. Bismillah, Sister Yamina. You are muted, Dr. Yamina. Just to let you know, we don't hear you.
Sorry, I could not hear you actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, welcome, Dr. Yamina. I just said we now turn to you. Thank you.
Thank you. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. So we're still carrying on with Surah al-Sajdah, the prostration, which is Surah number 32. And last week we stopped at Ayah 13. But as usual, to remind ourselves, I'll start from Ayah 12. And I am reading the English translation / interpretation, since every translation is an interpretation, where we are told in Ayah 12, if only you could see the wrongdoers, the criminals, hanging their heads before their Rabb, their sustainer. Our sustainer we have seen and we have heard, so return us to do good. Surely we now certain, we are convinced. In Ayah 13, we told, yet had we so willed, we could have given every soul its guidance. The we here is God speaking, but my words have come true. I shall fill hell with jinn and humans together. And in Ayah 14, which we did not reflect on last week, we are told, so taste then punishment for your having forgotten or being oblivious of the meeting with this your day. Truly, we have forgotten you. Taste then the lasting suffering for that which you used to do. So remember again what these people have done. In the very beginning, they are doubtful of the scripture, and we've been told many things about them. But at the end of the day, what they are doing is actually they are ignoring everything in existence as being created with meaning, with purpose, including their own selves, their own creation. And this does not mean that they deny the Creator. It does not necessarily mean that they deny God. They may believe in God in the sense that they don't deny his existence, but they live a life as though things are not created for a purpose with a meaning. And so by doing so, they belittle, in a sense, they are belittling the meaning, the purpose of creation, they're ignoring it. And as a result, or together with that, they misuse everything given to them. By misuse, it means they are using everything not for the purpose of its creation, but for what they see, for their own wishes and desires, for their own ends and goals. So, and by everything given to them, starting from their own faculties, their own life, and everything around them. So they're using them all for what they imagine to be their goals. But the issue, the problem with that is those purposes, those goals, those wishes and desires, they are impermanent, they are not lasting. Nothing is permanent is in this transient world. And therefore, there is no lasting meaning, there is no lasting impact. And sometimes people talk about leaving an impact on the world. Once they die, something they will leave that will carry on in this world. But if it is limited to the world, if there is no connection, no relationship to eternity, then this world, however much, even if it's thousands of years after a particular person lives and dies, still at the end, it is passing, it is impermanent, and so it ends. So it is only in our imagination that we imagine it to be long. We say 10 years, 100 years, and in our imagination, that's a very long time. And because of that imagination, we are able um, to dedicate our life to the worldly, to some worldly goals. Otherwise, it's not possible, because anything that is impermanent, we cannot really get attached to it. So when we are doing that, we're actually deluding ourselves in the sense that we're imagining some permanence where there is none. And so what does it mean? What does all this mean in a larger scale, at a larger or a deeper level? It means that these people are assuming that life is theirs. They may not deny that they are created, but what we say and what we live are two different things. What we live may confirm what we say, and it may not. And what we live contradicts what we say. Which one is our true belief? What we live by is our true belief. It means what we say is a claim that has not been confirmed, and therefore it is not our true belief. It is just a claim that we do not deny, but we do not confirm either. And we are too unconscious, too mindless to realize the contradiction between the two. So by doing so, they are assuming that life belongs to them, it's theirs. And if it's theirs, then they can do whatever they want with it. And by life, remember in Ayah 9, by life, it means all our senses, like hearing, seeing, speaking, moving. You can add anything you think of, feeling, understanding, reasoning. And of course, all these come with being human being, meaning being conscious. The fact that we understand and reason and think, and we can imagine the future and think about the past, we are conscious beings. So all these amazing faculties are taken for granted, and they are used for impermanent purposes to satisfy their own egos. Being impermanent, those purposes become unworthy. Even when they seem good, if they remain at the level of the ego, I feed the poor. I think we talked about this example before. Because it's not related to the source of the help, the source of the compassion, because I imagine it to be from me, and because in fact it is not from me, there is no source in me, The whole thing is based on an illusion. It is not based on fact, it is not based on reality, and therefore it has no true lasting basis. So the moment we question it, it all crumbles. And so without acknowledging the gifter, acknowledging the one who gives us all these faculties, who gives us life, who breathes life into us, and without wondering about the true meaning, the true purpose of this priceless gift, we end up, or these people end up, wasting their life. They are wasting all these priceless gifts. And accordingly, the whole creation, not only their own creation, but the whole creation is taken for granted because we perceive the others or the rest of the world in the same way as we perceive ourselves. Meaning, in this case, as independent of whatever we call God. We're not talking about those who totally deny God. We're talking about something that relates more to us. And so even though we may not be, or these people may not be denying God, we imagine, we perceive everything in disconnection with the source. And so can you imagine the level of ingratitude that is inherent, that is contained in this attitude? However much I can say Alhamdulillah day in, day out, I cannot truly be meaning it. And mind you, if I am living in that ghafla, I won't really be saying Alhamdulillah for everything. So remember in Ayah 9, we were told that God forms human being in accordance with what he's meant to be and breathes into him of his spirit. This is so important. Can you imagine? We have within us a spirit that God is breathing from his own spirit. And it is that way that we are endowed with hearing and sight and feeling and minds. Yet we are told at the end of Ayah 9 how seldom you are grateful. قَلِيلًا مَا تَشْكُرُونَ. So here, being grateful is being, not only saying, but being aware. And gratitude has many, many levels. And of course, it is not only a word, but it is a state of being, a state of perceiving, a state of living and doing. It is a state of being in the presence of the gifter, the source of all this, and being at awe at what is being gifted to us right now. Just the fact that we are able to breathe, that we are alive, that in itself is such an amazing miracle. And everything around us become also a miracle. And that awareness, that is called ihsan. People who live with that mindfulness are called muhsin, al-muhsinin or muhsinun. Then when these people, the mindless, when they're caught and they face the fact on the day of judgment, they cannot, on the day of judgment, they cannot rationalize, or they cannot run away from the truth and delude themselves. There is no way to delude ourselves. Then they claim in Ayah 12, if only you could see the wrongdoers hanging their heads before their sustainer, what do they claim? Oh, our sustainer Rabbana, we have seen and we have heard, so return us, it means send us back to do good. فَارْجِعْنَا نَعْمِلْ صَالِحًا. Surely we are now certain. إِنَّا مُوقِنُونَ. Like there is no doubt that now we are convinced. And we talked about how the way they are answering betrays their lack of realizing what's going on, which makes sense because if they never made any effort to understand the reality, to understand the facts of life, then they wouldn't be enlightened suddenly on the day of judgment. On the day of judgment, what will become clear is that delusions, the veil of delusion, the veil of ghafla, of mindlessness, will be removed. So they cannot deceive themselves anymore. But it does not mean that now they are perceiving the reality in the way a muhsin perceives it, for instance. So last week we stopped at ayah 13, and in ayah 13 we're told, yet had we so willed, we could have given every soul its guidance. So it's God speaking. But my word, God's words, have come true. I shall fill hell with jinn and human together. And we talked about how God does not force guidance on human being, because that would deprive them from their freedom and their ability to choose. And so he does not impose his guidance upon anyone. However, everything is made so that guidance is made so easy unto us. So in order not to follow the guidance, we have to truly not make an effort, but like truly not have the intention, not make any effort at all. So in ayah 13, we're told that if God has pleased, he would have given every soul its guidance. And we talked about actually every soul is given its guidance, the way we created, the way the universe, the world is created. And as if that is not enough, there is also the messengers are sent to us, and there is explicit guidance sent with the messengers. Subhanallah, it's like guidance upon guidance upon guidance. But still, we are free. We are free to follow the path of ease, the path of life, or to remain in darkness. It's up to us. No one forces us. That's what freedom is about. So we're free. Each one of us is free to accept and embrace the guidance or to not. And it's God's will that we are free to choose. And we talked about like if guidance were imposed upon human being, like that wouldn't be faith. That wouldn't be faith in the sense of iman, because iman is not denying, being forced to see something. It's something you cultivate, something you grow into, something. There would be no purification, no improvement. There wouldn't be human beings like we have now. So this ayah confirms again that if we don't follow divine guidance that leads to divine mercy here and now, divine mercy and blessings, صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم, the path of guidance, the right path is the path of those whom you have blessed, the path of blessings, here and now and forever. So we want mercy, we want guidance, we want mercy and blessings here and now and always, forever in the hereafter, that's called paradise. There is one way, you follow divine guidance. And we would by default follow the path of falsehood. When we are not following divine guidance, we are by default following falsehood. There is no neutral. And the path of falsehood is the path where we deprive ourselves of divine mercy that we need so much, that we are actually longing for, that we are seeking whatever we are seeking in this world. And that is hell. Hell is the lack of blessings and divine mercy. But we do it to ourselves. We knowingly leave the path that leads to paradise and take any other path we take takes to hell. So there is no neutral path. This is something very important. We are always in a state of worshiping. Worshipping means we are seeking help. We are seeking some results, some goodness, some fulfillment from something. That's something it's either the true one God, the sustainer of all worlds, the only one who can provide us with whatever we are seeking and who can help us, or we are seeking it from anything else, and anything else is his creation. And if we are seeking it from them, it means we are imagining in our ghafla, in our hiddenness, in our mindlessness, in our delusion, we are imagining them to be the source of something. And they become like idols to us. That's what making things into idol is. They become false God. And when we are seeking help from them, we are actually worshiping them instead of God. This is a theme that is repeated again and again in the Quran. And that's what the La ilaha is about. We negate, when we find ourselves experiencing that connection with the world as though it was the source of some goodness, the source of some fulfillment, we have to stop and question that connection, that relationship. And then it is when we ask the questions that we realize that those things are created just like us and they cannot help us in any ways. And therefore, we have to actively perform the La ilaha. This is not a God. This is not an idol. This cannot help me. Only the one who creates me with this thing and creates this relationship between us is the one who fulfill my needs through all this creation. Illallah. And so at this point, I told you last week, but we didn't get to, I didn't get to share that passage. I was reminded of a passage in Surah 26, actually the beginning of Surah 26, the first 8 ayat of Surah 26, which is Surah Shu'ara. It starts with Ta, Sin, Mim, the three disconnected letters. And then we are told, those are the ayat of the book that is clear in itself and that makes things clear. The book is clear, it makes other things clear. Tilka ayatul kitab al-mubin. Are you going to worry yourselves to death because they will not believe? Had we so willed, we could have sent them down an ayah from the sky at which their necks would stay bowed in utter humility. But then again, it would not be, have we so willed, it would not be their choice. Actually, think about it. All the ayats, our own breathing and seeing and thinking are all ayats that are worth bowing in utter humility constantly. But we are not forced into that prostration, into that bowing. It is up to us to remain conscious. And whenever we are conscious of how awesome, how precious, how miraculous these gifts are, then we prostrate in adoration, in gratitude, in appreciation before our Rabb. And when we forget, or when we can't keep in that state of awe and amazement, then we ask for forgiveness, and we still acknowledge that it is worth being always constantly in awe and bowing down in humility before it, but it is my weakness that I forget. At least we need to be aware of that. But then we are told, since God has not willed it, obviously, instead human beings were set free, but because we were set free, many people, instead of bowing in humility before the ayat of their Rabb, they turn away. And that's what we told in ayah 5. And whenever there comes unto them a fresh reminder from the most merciful, they turn away. And in ayah 6, we're told, thus they deny it. They deny the fresh reminder. But the truth of what they scorned will soon hit them. So we are told when they turn away, turning away, of course, may take different forms, but the most important thing is they do not recognize it as meaningful ayah, bearing meaningful messages and guidance from their Rabb. And that is turning away. And that turning away, we are told in ayah 6, is denying. They are denying the message, the reminder within those ayats. So turning away amounts to denying. Turning away is ignoring, avoiding, forgetting. I mean, usually forgetting is not only to fail to remember, but it also a neglecting to mention something, and therefore to remembering. It is putting something out of our mind. It's a state of forgetfulness. It's a state of oblivion. And oblivion means a state of being unaware, being unconscious of what's going on, what's truly going on. And again, in his infinite rahmah, so this is ayah 5, they turn away. Ayah 6, thus they deny it. Ayah 7, we are told, have they not seen the earth, how much of every noble kind of life we have caused to grow on it? Ayah 8, truly, in that there is an ayah, there is a sign, but most of them are not believers. And truly, your Rabb, your sustainer alone, is the Almighty, the Compassionate. So you see how, like, in his infinite rahmah, in his infinite loving care and compassion, our Rabb, our sustainer, reminds us of the ayat in creation. Right when they say, they turn away, they deny it, and okay, they turn away, they deny it. We're not reading this for others. It is talking about me. Most of the time I turn away and ignore it, and therefore deny that there is a meaningful message and guidance for me in whatever is happening in my life, in everything, in my interaction in the world around me. And so we are given an example. Example in ayah 7 is, have they not seen the earth? Look at the earth around you. How much of any noble kind we have caused to grow. All these things you cannot count. There's so countless kinds of life, plants and insects and animals and all kinds. truly there is a sign in that. It's not even saying there are signs. No, in the beginning it's general because we are still not proficient in reading the signs. So it's not saying like there are signs within signs within signs and everything is a sign. So there are myriads of signs. No, 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 there is a sign. Just look generally. Don't you see that all this activity is meaningful? And truly, then it says, what is this sign telling us? That whoever is making all this, he is our sustainer, the sustainer of all this life, and therefore my sustainer, I'm part of it. And he is the Almighty, the compassionate. He alone is the Almighty, the compassionate. So it's an invitation to start, start to guiding us to start perceiving things in a certain way, to start reasoning in a certain way. So in this scheme, there is no valid excuse for forgetting because everything around us reminds us of God. Everything around us glorifies Him. Everything around us praises Him, declares His beautiful attributes. At the end of, if we truly look at how everything is being grown, is growing, then we should be able to conclude that He alone is the Almighty, the Merciful. وَإِنَّ رَبَّكَ لَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الرَّحِيمُ.
Dr. Yamina,
Yes.
You already mentioned this, but it would be helpful maybe to highlight it in this surah, which is Surah 26, verse 4, when it says, had we so willed, we could have sent down an ayah, a sign, which would be a sign that would be overpowering and that would take away their will. So it says we won't send such a sign, and yet when it refers to the sign in the world, how every noble kind of creature is being created, in verse 8 it says, in this there's a sign. So it's the same term, ayah. So in a way, a sign from heavens is not sent down in the sense of an overpowering miracle, and yet everything is, I mean, the world is a sign.
But it's not in the, before it says they would not be able to like
deny
or forget, or they will have to stay there in prostration, in
their next
now, what does it mean?
Mm-hmm.
It means when we remain mindful, in our mindfulness, we will find ourselves in a state of humility, in a state of awe, in a state of prostration before this awesomeness, this generosity, this mercy, this almightiness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we are not forced. We can still find an excuse to run away from it, or as it was, we were told in Ayah 5, turn away from it, and thus they deny it, Ayah 6. Because when we ignore it and turn away from it, we end up living as if there is no meaningful sign out there. And so we are, in fact, we are denying it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We become blind to.
Exactly. We become blind to it. Mm-hmm. Even though it's there like glaring at us, it's in our face. Everything is in our face, but we give it. And how do we become blind to it? It's not like this thing is not there. We give it a name, we give it an explanation, we make it into an idol. What is an idol? Is It is from it. The awesomeness is from it. It is not reflecting some otherworldly, some transcendent awesomeness. It is not channeling any meaning from beyond. As if it itself, we like it. We may be working very hard to get it because we appreciate it, but appreciate it in itself, not as a gift. And that's why we are denying the sign. We are denying the connection, the relationship with beyond. So when you look at it, actually, it seems like there is no valid excuse to forget because everything around us reminds us of our Rabb. However, when we are in that state of blindness, in that state of ignoring things, then nothing seems to be reminding us of anything. I mean, generally, in life, unless we have an illness, a brain, something, our brain is damaged or something, we don't forget things we value. We don't forget things that we give importance to. So what does it mean that we forget that things are ayat? Forget about reading them. We forget that they are ayat. Of course, if we did not forget that they are ayat, if we perceive them as ayat, we would be reading them automatically, because if they are ayat, if they are bearing messages, they are bearing meanings, we would read them even if it is at some level, even if we can't read the whole thing, we would appreciate the message at some level. But the fact that we forget to read the ayat is because we don't even see them as ayat. So they are not important. That's why in life we forget things that we don't give importance to, generally speaking. And so we don't make an effort, we don't find ourselves making an effort, striving to learn how to read the ayat and live accordingly, because we even fail to see them as ayat. Does it make sense? Because if everything is an ayah around me, then I have no excuse to forget the reality, to forget akhirah, to not know who I am, who God is. Because everything around me is screaming at me, not screaming, but is showing me the way, is helping me, is easing me onto the path of guidance, onto the right path of easiness. But when I am not, they can be saying it, but I am not paying attention, then it doesn't work for me. Nothing is reminding me of anything. I am totally blinded. I live in my own cocoon, my own small little bubble of delusion. And can you imagine the meaning of this? Remember again what I said just previously. We are created in a very special way. We are given very extremely precious abilities. And more importantly, we are given this ruh, which God breathes of his own spirit into us. This human spirit is being breathed. God breathes of his spirit within us. And this way we are made into conscious beings that see, that hear, that understand, that reason. He also creates the whole world with its countless being, countless things, events, the whole universe and galaxies in very meaningful ways. They are ayat, it means they are bearing meaningful messages. It means when we look at them, they don't seem alien, they don't seem meaningless. Everything seems very meaningful. They're so meaningful that we have establish so many sciences just to study the world. It means they are so orderly, so wisely created, so beautiful. We want to go around and visit around and look around. We enjoy the world. We have a relationship that our life tends to revolve around. We want to have more of the world because there is something that speaks to us. So we cannot deny that there is meaning in the world, but we don't look at it as meaning, as purposeful messages and meaning, but as I like it, therefore I'll have it. I'm going to work hard and get it. But in fact, we are told that all this meaningful world is created this way so as to guide us onto the eternal source of all that we seek. We're frantically seeking fulfillment from transient things that are themselves being created like us, that cannot help us, that don't know us. And we are told, what are you doing? Seek all this from your Rabb. He alone can fulfill your needs. And we say, okay, I did my prayers. Now I have to work hard because I'm very busy. I need this and this and this and that. We make things into idols instead of worshiping God alone. And on top of all this, in his infinite compassion and mercy, because God knows that we'll forget, that we will do all this, he sends us messengers with more explicit guidance, clear guidance. La ilaha illallah. All these things, they are not gods. They are not the source of anything you need. They are just like you. Look carefully and find the true and only source. Your salvation depends on it. Your eternal happiness depends on it. And, or if I don't find it, okay, I don't care. No, there is no neutral path in the middle. When you are not worshiping the true God, you're worshiping those false idols, you are deluding yourselves. So when on the day of judgment, we cannot delude ourselves anymore. And when the truth that deep down we know right here and now will be made open and we can't run away from it, then that will really hurt, because we would know that we would have wasted our life. We would have spent all our life working hard to get away from the only source, from the only thing that we need. How foolish is that? How painful is that? How miserable we would feel, would any human being feel being in that position? And so that's why we are given a clear guidance in the Quran, teaching us how to decipher the messages in the creation and to decipher all these things that I've been saying are all taught in the Quran. So, for instance, we're taught to not take things for granted and to ask meaningful, critical questions. I know from time to time I repeat the questions, but actually all this questioning is taught in the Quran, this asking meaningful, critical questions that lead us to make the shahada, to actually witness the truth. Because remember, taqlid, imitative belief, is not valid. It's not iman, because it's not iman. That is, iman is not just believing, having faith, believing, I believe, God creates, it means maybe he does not, but most probably he does. No, no, no. Iman is not this. Iman means I am certain, I have evidence. I know, I witnessed that nothing. How can you witness God? I witnessed everything else, and I know for sure that nothing else can create. Therefore, only he, whoever that creator is, that is he, that is God. So, for instance, in Surah Al-Waqi'ah, which is Surah 56, from Ayah 57 to 74, I'll just go through the interpretation, and you will see how we are taught to question, to ask questions, to not take what we think is fact, what we think is reality for granted, because often our perception is superficial. It is based on false assumptions. So we are told it is we, and here we is God speaking. It is we who have created you. Why then do you not accept the truth? Have you seen that which you emit? Is it you who created, or are we the creator? We have indeed decreed that death shall be ever present among you, and there is nothing to prevent us from changing the nature of your existence and bringing you into being anew in a manner as yet unknown to you. And since you are indeed aware of the miracle of your coming into being in the first instance, why then do you not reflect? Have you seen the seed which you cast upon the soil? Is it you who cause it to grow, or are we? In Arabic is, are we the growers? And in English they said, are we, because you can't say really, are we the grower? Do you grow it, or are we the growers? For were it our will, we would indeed turn it into chaff, and you would be left to wander and lament. Like if you were the ones growing it, you would have some control over it, but you have no control. And of course, this reasoning you can apply to anything. I say it's my nails, but they grow and I can't tell them stop. I just have to cut them and follow whatever they are doing. Clearly, they're not mine. And it is the same here with what we grow out of, but it's easier to start in the outer world. Have you seen the water which you drink? Is it you who cause it to come down from the clouds? Or are we the munzilun, the ones making it down, coming down? It comes down sweet, but were it our will, we could make it burningly salty and bitter. Why then do you not give thanks? Have you ever considered, have you seen the fire which you kindle? Is it you who have brought it into being? Is it you who have brought into being the tree that serves as its fuel? Or are we the cause of its coming into being? Is it you? It is we who have made it a means to remind you of us and a comfort for all who are lost and hungry in the wilderness. Glorify then in the mighty name of your sustainer. فسبح باسم ربك العظيم سبحان ربي العظيم. Have you seen how we are taught to reconsider the way we interact with the world, with the way we perceive reality? And when we start, it's easier when it's out there. And then we apply that reasoning to ourselves as well. And then if we make peace, if we accept this reality, if we make peace with the reality, then we will start seeing the ayat everywhere. And so there will be no forgetting, because everything will remind us of, not only remind us of God as our Rabb, but remind us of Him with His beautiful names in specific. The names would also be, will have meaning in various situations. So those names will be something we can experience and taste and become familiar with and feel closer and closer to God. And yet, after all this guidance upon guidance, the guidance in our fitrah, in the way we are created, the guidance in the way the world is created, the guidance in the prophet being sent as model, role models, and the guidance of the Quran as explicit directives and instructions, many foolish people still attempt to seek to fulfill their needs without paying attention to this reality, as if we came here to do something in this world, forgetting that it is a passing, a transient world. And so whatever, this world cannot answer our needs that are all connected to a longing to lastingness. Anything that is not lasting does not satisfy the human heart and therefore is not fulfilling. And yet, people hold fast onto the world, forgetting that it is passing, without grasping the true meaning of what they are doing. And that is why we are advised to not be like them, like those who live in such a foolish oblivion, a foolish delusion. And in Ayah 14, we are told, so taste then, this is what will happen to those who live that way. So we're not gossiping about some disbelievers and how they will end. This is I am now here concerned about my own future, about my own, my own life, my own attitude. I don't want to end there. I don't want the people I care about to end there, to follow that path of oblivion, that path of delusion. Because in that path of delusion, it's not only the destination that is horrible. It's even here, even in this world, even if we were to get everything we wanted, still it won't be fulfilling, because it is passing. And deep down, the human heart knows, because it is created for akhirah, for eternity, because the ruh, the spirit within us is being breathed from God, is breathing from his own spirit within us. So that spirit knows where it came from. Home is with God. Home is with the beautiful names that have been taught to us, and we long for them. Anything we love, we want it to be lasting, and anything that is not lasting is not fulfilling. It is not satisfying. So those people, we are told in Ayah 14, the people that we've been, this Surah al-Sajdah have been talking about from the beginning, they are told, so taste then the result or the punishment for your having forgotten the meeting with this your day. We have forgotten, we have forsaken you. Taste then the lasting suffering for that which you used to do. وذوقوا عذاب الخلد بما كنتم تعملون. So it's understood from this ayah that punishment in the hereafter, which is really the lack of what was taken for granted in this life, so that punishment is the result of the doings that these people themselves committed. بما كنتم تعملون. It is the result of the lasting suffering for that which you used to do. It is their doings, inner and outer, that took them away from God's mercy, that took them away from lasting goodness, took them away from everything that they truly needed and sought, because they sought it in the world itself. They made worldly created beings into idols and worshiped them. Worshiped them in the sense that they gave them importance, they loved them, they adored them, they worked for them, they accumulated them, they expected happiness from them. That's what worshiping is. It's not necessarily putting something as a statue in a corner and actually bowing to that thing. There is worse than bowing, is spending a whole life working for it, working to own it. So since the punishment in the hereafter, the punishment is actually the lack of all they were seeking, they were truly seeking, and the things that they took for granted, they never saw the true source behind them. That punishment, that not finding what they were looking for, especially when it becomes clear in the hereafter, is the result of their own doings. And therefore, it's something they themselves committed, and so they only have themselves to blame. Another point is that's clear from this is a reminder that human beings' wretchedness, misery, or the punishment, the adab here, the suffering, lies in God forsaking them. And what does it mean that God is forsaking them? Take it because God is speaking to us here so that we understand. So it is their refusal to accept God's mercy, and so they deprive themselves of it. God's mercy, God's blessings, everything they so much loved and enjoyed and delighted in this world is with God, but they said, no, 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 it's in the world, I will get it myself. Okay, you go and get it yourself. Since you insist so much. That's what. And so when they left with their false gods, with their idols, and they realized that they've lost everything, since it was nothing but their delusion, when they wake up from their delusion on the day of judgment, if they don't wake up before, because on the day of judgment it's too late, it will be too late, and they will hurt. That is hellfire. They will have lost everything, and they will be left with that. In other passages in the Quran, that burning fire in the heart, that like, what, how come I was so blind? How come I did this to myself? So it is understood that when the disbelievers or the heedless forget God or forsake God here in this world, they are forsaking themselves, actually. They're forsaking their only connection to the only source of everything that they long for, everything they actually need. They're actually forsaking his infinite and all-encompassing mercy and blessings. And that's why in Surah Al-Hashr is Surah 59, and it's the surah that we recite the last ayat from this surah after, I think it's Maghrib prayer. And it's because there is a hadith which encourages to recite the last part of Surah Al-Hashr in the morning and in the evening. And so this, what we recite is 20 to 24. But right before 20 to 24, 18 and 19. What are we told in 18 and 19? We are told, "O you who have believed, ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullah, be mindful of God, and let every soul consider carefully what it sends ahead for tomorrow. And once again, be mindful of God, for God is fully aware of all what you do. Inna Allah khabirun bima ta'amalun." Do not be like those who are oblivious of God, so God causes them to be oblivious of their own selves. For it is they who are truly depraved. depraved. أولئك هم الفاسقون. So when we think we are oblivious of God, we are actually oblivious of our own selves. We're oblivious that we are ibad. If we can't see God as my Rabb, it means I am not aware who I am. I'm not aware that I'm being sustained right here and now. I am being fed. I'm being made to see, to hear, to breathe, to be alive. And so everything is being sustained here and now. So this is really, really a very meaningful area. There are many indications. And so we all have we have all life to take these guidance, this ayat into consideration, but it has to be before death. After death, it's over. It's too late. There's no way back. So if we want to attend to this situation, and it is a very, very grievous situation. If we want to come back to our senses, it's every moment is the moment. This is not something that we will program like, when people diet, they will say, I'll start next week or next summer or something. No. This is something that we start right now. We make the decision right now. Whatever we do is, how do you say, is going to be to our own benefit. However, even if we take one little baby step towards this reality, because after death there is no way back, and we don't know when we will die. So if knowing this fact right now doesn't make us take action, then we only have ourselves to blame. This is what we are told in this ayah. Don't blame anyone else. I am telling you, that's why Allah is telling us in advance. And if we still choose to remain in darkness, if we still choose to live as we wish, we think it's living as we wish, without referring to divine guidance, without feeling the intense need for it, or at least in the beginning, some need for it. If we don't actively, consciously, knowingly choose to remember how we are totally dependent on our Rabb, and to keep in mind who we are as ibad, as totally dependent on our Rabb, as recipient receiving his blessings and his mercy right here now, always, and live accordingly. Just knowing that, acknowledging it, accepting it, it will bring huge gratitude and humility. Humility will surge within us, and with that humility there will be a surging of joy, of feeling fulfilled and safe and grounded, because we are not alien anymore. We know we have a strong connection with the Almighty, the All Compassionate. Can you imagine the meaning of that? The heart will totally open, that the heart will feel fulfilled and satisfied. And that's how we told in Surah Al-Ra'd, أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنَّ الْقُلُوبِ. Only at the mentioning and remembering of God do human hearts get satisfaction and fulfillment. And if we don't do this, then it means we are choosing to turn away from divine mercy. Again, no neutrality. I didn't choose anything. I didn't choose to follow the path of guidance, but I didn't want to be misguided. No, when you don't choose to work for your exam, you are not working. That's it. You will fail. if I am driving a car and I say I didn't do anything, I just did not, I was not holding the steering wheel or not steering the wheel, well, that's what it takes to cause an accident. Because if you are in a car, a moving car, you are supposed to be careful about the wheel. So somehow when it comes to life, we want to imagine there is some neutrality. No, when we are not worshiping God, we are worshiping false gods. When we are not loving God, we are loving his creation. When we are not following divine guidance, we are following paths that lead nowhere, that lead away from where we want to end, that lead away from paradise. And anything away from paradise is hell for us, because we are created for paradise. So this means when we are not choosing to follow divine guidance actively, it means we are by default turning away from it, turning away from divine mercy, from lasting blessings. And here in this world, we're still benefiting from divine mercy, from God's blessings, even if we don't recognize them as such, or we don't use them according to divine will or to the purpose of their creation, and we use them foolishly and selfishly and for our own narrow purposes and wishes. But in the next world, that will not be possible. All the veils of heedlessness, all the veils of delusion will be removed, and we will face our reality, the reality. And for instance, in Surah Taha, which is Surah 20, in ayah 124 to 127, we are told, and whoever turns away from remembering me, God speaking, he will have a life of great hardship. And on the day of resurrection, we shall raise him blind. And he will ask, "Oh, my sustainer, why have you raised me blind, whereas I was endowed with sight before?" He, meaning God, will say, "This is how it is. You ignored our ayat when they came to you, so today you will be ignored." And the same word is used as in ayah 14. You forgot, but even in English, forget is not always just forgetting, oh, I forgot. It also means ignoring and not paying attention and things like that. And so it does in Arabic too. So you ignored our ayat when they came to you, so today you will be ignored. This is how we reward those who waste themselves. And the word used is asrafa, men asrafa, to waste themselves and who do not believe in their sustainers ayat. And indeed, the most severe and the most enduring punishment is in the hereafter. Because in this life, we can still delude ourselves and deceive ourselves and pretend, forget that they are all passing and therefore not truly fulfilling, but still we are still enjoying somehow even though it's superficial, even though the human spirit is actually feeling prisoner of this material worldly, passing, transient world, and is longing for the beautiful names of God, is longing for eternity. We can still pretend, but on that day, in the hereafter, there is no pretending, and therefore the punishment of the hereafter is most severe. وَلَعَذَابُ الْآخِرَةُ أَشَدُّ وَأَبْقَى. The most severe and the most enduring. punishment is in the hereafter.
And also because we tend to numb ourselves here.
Yes, yes, yes.
So that the pain of darkness doesn't.
The pain of separation, the pain of transience does not. We feel it deep down, but most of the time we're not really aware of it because we keep ourselves busy in order to numb ourselves. Exactly. Yeah, that's a good word. But in the hereafter, there will be no numbing, no trying to run away from the reality. And not only we won't run away from it, but we will face it. Can you imagine? Even in imagination, it's very it's very hurtful, very painful. Can you imagine? It says the world uses waste, israf. You would have those who waste themselves. We would have wasted everything. Ourselves, things given to us, everything. Can you imagine? Astaghfirullah. And this situation is also clarified in Surah Al-A'raf. Surah Al-A'raf is Surah 7. It's a very interesting surah, actually, but I won't go into. Right before this text, there it talks about the people of the A'raf. That's what the name comes from. But I will start from ayah 49 to 57. So in 48, we are told that the disbelievers are those who accumulated wealth and they were arrogant. They had false pride. And in ayah 49, we are told that the believers receive God's rahmah, God's mercy, and are taken into paradise. So you see, paradise comes together with, there is a connotation of divine rahmah. That's the where divine rahmah is, that's paradise, especially when it is clear that it is from God and God only. In ayah 50, we are told the people of the fire will call to the people of paradise, give us some water or any of the sustenance that God has given you. And they will reply, people of paradise, God has forbidden both to be to the disbelievers. 51, those who took their religion for distraction, a mere game, and were deluded by the lowly life, today we shall ignore them just as they have ignored their meeting with this day and denied our ayat. And the ignored here is the forgetting. It's the exact word as in ayah 14 of Surah al-Sajdah. So you see here in Taha, in Surah 20, in this surah, what did they do? They ignored the ayat of their sustainer. That's why you cannot say, I believe in God, I believe in God as my Rabb, as my sustainer, if I have no idea about his ayat. And in 52, we are told, for indeed we have conveyed unto them a scripture which we clearly and wisely spelled out as guidance and as mercy for the people who will believe. 53, what are they meaning the disbelievers, waiting for, but its fulfillment? It means fulfillment of the day of judgment. Like, what are they waiting? Are they waiting for the day of judgment to come? It will be too late. On the day it is fulfilled, on the day the judgment is fulfilled, those who had ignored it will say, our sustainers, messengers spoke the truth. Is there anyone to intercede for us now? Or can we be sent back to behave differently from the way we behaved before? They will really have squandered their souls, and all the idols they invented will have deserted or like forsaken them. You see, because if they were not aware of the ayat, it means things were not ayat for them, but idols. They worship them. And now those things, because those things are not idols, the idols won't be there. The idols were in their own perception, their false perception, their misperception, their delusion, their imagination. And those, there will be things, but those things can't give anything. And in that, in the hereafter, it will be clear for the believer, the true believer, that is clear in this world, that lifeless water cannot and does not give life. That whoever is giving life to all kinds of living things through water is the source of all life, is the giver of life. And so through water, through observing water, through drinking water, through watering other living beings, we get to know God as the giver of life. And we are at awe, and our heart will be swelling with his love, with love and gratitude towards him. And that will give tremendous joy and happiness to the human soul that long for that eternal life, that eternal meaning and purpose. And in Ayah 54, so we were told in 53, we're told, are they waiting for the fulfillment of the day of judgment? On the day of judgment, it will be too late, because once it's fulfilled, those who had ignored it will say, our sustainers, messengers spoke the truth. Is there anyone to intercede for us? And just like in Ayat al-Sajdah, they are also asking, can we be sent back to behave differently from the way we behaved before? They would really have squandered their souls, and all the idols they had invented will have forsaken them. 54, truly your sustainer is God. Your Rabb is God. It is not water, it's not money, it's not this and that. Your sustainer is God, who has created the heavens and the earth. Can you see how, again, back to the ayat in the creation? Now, if I don't take this seriously, and I don't spend days and days looking at how God is creating the heavens and the earth, then I am not reading this ayah. I'm not following the guidance. I'm just repeating and going back to my old idols. But if I do follow the guidance, if I go and check and observe and witness how the heavens and the earth are created, then those things that were like idols to me will become ayat. They will become, I will start listening to them. I will start glorifying God together with them. They will be messengers for me, bearing messengers from God. And instead of worshiping them and imagining that they are the source of the benefits I get through them, I start glorifying God through them, by means of them, together with them. And actually, they will not make me forget who my Rabb is. They will remind me. They will be a means for me to confirm and make shahada and get to know God with his beautiful names, and get closer and closer to God, and live not only that will increase my iman, but I will live in a state of ihsan, in the presence of the divine wherever I turn, because as we are told in the Quran, wherever you turn, there is wajh Allah, thamma wajh Allah, that there is the face of God, the aspect of things that look to the beautiful names of God, that look to eternity, that look to akhirah. So in Ayah 54, we are told right after. So this is what they do. You don't want, this is speaking to me, to the potential believer. It's telling me, don't do this. This is what they are waiting for the day of judgment. It will be too late. Don't do this. Look, truly your sustainer is God, who has created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, like we were told in the beginning of the surah. and established himself on the throne. He covers the day with the night in swift pursuit. The sun and the moon and the stars are subservient to his command. Remember al-amr. Truly, all creation and all command. ألا له الخلق والأمر. We did talk about the creation and the command in this surah belong to him. Hallowed is God, the sustainer of all words. ألا له الخلق والأمر تبارك الله رب العالمين. 55. Call unto your sustainer, your Rabb, humbly and in the secrecy of your hearts. Truly, he does not love those who transgress the bounds of what is right. Hence, do not spread corruption on earth after it has been so well ordered, and call unto him with fear and longing. Truly, God's mercy is ever near unto the muhsinin, those who live with ihsan, those who live in the presence of God. 57. It is God who sent the wind, bearing good news of his coming mercy. And when they have gathered up the heavy clouds, we drive them to a dead land where we cause them to we cause rain to fall, bringing out all kinds of crops. Thus we shall bring out the dead. Will you not reflect? Now, the reflection here is not obvious in Ayah 57, because we say, okay, God sends the winds, he sends the winds, take the clouds from place to place, and then rain falls, and then crops come out, and that's how the dead will be resurrected. And we were talking the other day with Isra and some friends. If we read it this way, as I said now, it's correct, but that's a paraphrase. That's not reading an ayah. That's not reflecting. Will you not reflect, it says at the end. So will you, that's not reflecting. That's just stating the outcome, the result. If I want to reflect on this ayah, and so we were talking about being honest. Personally, when I read this ayah, and it says, it is God who sends the winds, I stopped there. I stopped there because I don't see God sending the winds. I see wind coming. So if I am following, really reflecting, I don't say, oh yes, God sent the wind. That's taqlid, that's just imitating. I have not witnessed anything. I have not reflected anything. That statement has not become guidance for me. It has not transformed anything in me. It did not bring anything new into my life. It did not bring light into my life. I have not changed the way I perceive the world. It did not increase my consciousness, or I'm not perceiving the world or the wind in a different way. I'm just perceiving the world, the wind as I used to, but I am adding now a claim onto it, or God sends the winds. Okay. I close the mushaf, or I finish reciting this ayah. I go into the world and I start interacting with the wind as if the wind is happening on its own, as if the wind, or if I read about how the wind happens, I will attribute it to those causes, whatever it is. What matters is my perception, has my perception of the wind changed? Am I perceiving the wind as coming from God, as an ayah, as having a particular purpose and meaning, bringing some messages from me? Am I at all at the way the winds go from one place to another, and they how do you say, they transport those mountain-like, huge and very heavy clouds. If it did not change any of this, I am not reading the ayah, I am not following its guidance. So in order to read the ayah, I need to be.
Dr. Yamina, I think, is this a good time to take a comment?
Sure, yes.
Yeah. Sister Zakia, would you like to share something?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to add when Sister Amina said about the wind, and I think we were discussing this afternoon that not just nature, the environment we're living in nowadays, which I would be totally depressed if I didn't reflect on it, thinking that it's all coming from the source, and we have to reflect as to why it is happening to find the answers. Does that make any sense to you all? I'm not talking about nature, but more of events that are unfolding, which is can drive us to depression unless we put it in the context of everything is the will of Allah, and we have to reflect on why these things are happening.
That would be the outcome. In order for that to become my reality, I need first to be convinced. Not, I do not mean only intellectually, but that it is my reality. That's how I perceive the wind. The wind is an ayah. So I cannot take this for granted because I don't find myself there automatically. That's why I need divine guidance for that. And the first step is to intend to reflect, not take it for granted. And the first step of reflection is to not be quick at concluding that it is from God. And for this, I mean, it's a matter of integrity, a matter of being honest with myself and not saying it's from God because I'm a Muslim, because the Quran says so, but truly, I reach a point where this is my reality. I am sure. I make shahada. I witness it, not only with my eyes, with my heart, with my everything. There is no doubt about it. And that's why the reflection starts with, when there is wind, I go out and actually walk or stand in the wind and just feel it, so that I can start questioning, like the questioning that I shared at the beginning in Surah Al-Waqi'ah. But that questioning has, like it says, have you seen or have you considered the water you drink? Are you the one who bring it down from the sky, or are we the one doing it? So in order to do that, I have to interact with water, drink it, and stay there. What does it mean that I drink water? What does it mean that I need water? What is water for me? Not only intellectually, but mostly intellectually, we are only articulating what we are experiencing. So I need to experience that again and reflect and stay with that reality. And then go out when it's raining and experience the rain. And then can water do this? Is rain coming itself? Is the cloud sending it? and realizing how everything is interconnected. And therefore, in that interconnectedness, for something, one thing to happen, everything has to cooperate. So either each one of them is like God, or they are all at the command. له الخلق وله الأمر. The creation is his because the command is his. They are all at his command, the command of one. I don't know him yet, but they are in the command of one who controls all these things, who knows my needs, and who uses and employs something seemingly out there, and suddenly it comes into my body and works so perfectly. When I am reflecting, there is experiencing, living, tasting, being at awe, being amazed, all those feelings. I will have to reflect on them, to contemplate them. Where are they coming from? Is it possible that this water is doing it? Is it possible that the wind, which is really air in motion, does this air knows and it goes at a certain speed because the clouds need to be somewhere or something like that? Is it possible? What does this mean? And there is a point where the intellect understand that it can't be La ilaha, and the illallah is something that we will experience in the heart, that humility, that bowing down in awe at the miracle of what's going on, because it's beyond even our imagination, but it moves our heart, it moves our soul. The soul recognizes the mercy there, the power, the almightiness there. The more we reflect in this way, the more we will have benefited from the guidance of this ayah, and the more we will be able to confirm it, and the more we will actually start, when we feel the wind, we will say Subhanallah. And that saying won't be just an imitative saying. It will be representing or expressing our state of being. It will increase our iman. My interaction with the wind becomes ibadah. It becomes worship. It becomes shahada. I'm witnessing the names of God, and the wind is speaking to me. It's communicating to me. It is an ayah now. So whenever the wind is there, it will bring peace into me.
Can I speak?
Yes, please.
You see, Sister Yamina, I'm understanding, inshallah, whatever you're saying, but you're always referring to nature, which is, of course, everything is an ayah. I was referring, first my question is, when you use the word referent, that, what did you mean by that? What is the that you were referring to? That's one thing. And the other thing, my question was more relating to events, human events that are happening now, which the only way, when we reflect on it, the only way we can accept it and not be in despair is to think that, okay, what's our role to play, where we should speak out and where we should keep quiet, and that guidance has to come from Allah. And the only way to stay active and positive is to think that Allah will guide us through all this muddle that we are in. I'm not talking about nature. I know what you're talking about, and
Yes,
that's what.
I could not hear the first word you said. What was you are talking about? Not nature, but you said another word.
The muddle, the chaos we are in right
Ah,
now.
oh, okay, the mother. Okay, so I am talking about nature because this area was talking about it.
Oh yes, this is a
However,
beautiful.
event, if
But I was
if
transferring.
and in the Quran, it starts with well, when we talk about nature, those are events too. The wind is always in motion. The rain is always in motion. Everything is in motion. So they are events. When we learn how to reflect this way and to interact with the world and experience the world as ayah, we are learning the letters, the alphabet, and the words of the divine names. Now, when there is an event that includes maybe some human interaction or intervention or something, it's like more complicated texts. I only can try to start reading it and understanding some of it to the extent that I am familiar with the alphabet, with the letters, with the words. Now, I can always say God is creating this and he's not creating anything without meaning and purpose, which is true. It could be a starting point, but even if I have done my homework before, if I have interacted, if I interact with nature and with myself, with the world, and I have learned the alphabet and the words as ayat in the world, then when I say this, it is not an assumption. It is the reality. That's how I experience the world. If I have not done this homework before, it won't be coming from inside me. I won't be able to be at peace with it. I know it, but it is an information that has not been internalized, that has not been confirmed in the heart, that has not been, I have not made the shahada of that. So I am not truly at peace with it. It is not my reality. I am perceiving the world in a different way, in an alien way, but I'm saying it doesn't make sense to me. It is oppressing me. It is causing me distress. And I say to myself, but wait a minute, like everything was supposed to be meaningful and has a purpose. So I try to keep a sense of meaning between these two sides of me. This could be a new beginning for me, because now I became aware of a contradiction. I have a claim that everything is created on purpose and meaning, because that's what I was told and I do not deny it. But I realized that I don't deny it, but I'm not proficient in this reality. And so I may decide to start a new journey, embark on this new journey of truly finding out how something that looks distressful is actually created with meaning and purpose. However, that's not always easy, because it's like someone who doesn't know numbers and wants to do, doesn't even know the numbers and doesn't know how to count, but wants to start with advanced mathematics, or doesn't know how to read and write, but wants to read literary texts. So that's why in the Quran, out of compassion, knowing our nature starts from the beginning, building one step at a time, one step at a time. Is it impossible to start from the other one? No, but it's really, even if I start there, if I have good intention, I will feel the need to go back and start from the beginning. And if you take any event, you will find that it boils down to simpler events. And we will start from the beginning, and it always starts with questioning my perception. This is exactly what we were told in Surah Al-Waqi'ah, Surah 56. Is it, look at this, have you considered this? Is it you who make it? Is it we who make it? It means there is a perception. When I grow a plant, it seems that I am planting it. When the water comes from the sky, it seems like rain is coming from the sky. Where is God in that? That's how it seems. So the Quran is teaching us to question our perception of the facts out there. And then my perception could be in alignment with the reality of the fact. It could be not in alignment. And for instance, the winds, it says God sends the wind, God sends the rain, and I go out and it seems to me that rain is coming itself, the wind is blowing itself. That's my perception. I have to start there because it's the same thing towards any event. My perception of it does not include God. Why? Because my perception of myself even is disconnected of my Rabb. I know he's my Rabb, but when I am breathing, it seems to me I am breathing myself. I have to train myself through reflection, through contemplation, until I become aware that when I am breathing, I don't know how to breathe. It is not me who is breathing. I found myself breathing. I am made to breathe. Then, if I am made to breathe, then that rain is not just coming like that. The whole universe have to come together in this particular way for that rain to come down. So it can't be doing it itself. Nothing can be doing it. Whoever is in control of everything, Rabbul Alameen, is the one who is making it come down. Now, when something else is happening in the world, is the same thing. However, we question only when there is distress, means we don't like what's going on. And even the dislike, it seems I dislike something, therefore it is bad. I start with something very simple. For instance, I dislike illness, therefore illness is bad. Two different things. I find the dislike for illness into me, and the other side of the coin is there is a like, a need, an appreciation for health in me. They come together. So the dislike for illness have made me more intensely aware of my like, my need, my appreciation of health. And so this one point. The second point is, if I am the source of the like and dislike, then it will make sense to conclude that illness is bad, health is good. I'm going to work to acquire health and to be away from illness. But that's not the truth. The truth is, I find the dislike and the like in me. It is not under my control. That's why Iman needs not only intention, but intention, because intention requires awareness. It is an awareness that I am not the source of the like and dislike. And that's the breakthrough. When I witness the fact that the dislike and the like are coming through me, but they are not coming from me. I am not the source. Then I say, whoever is creating me with the dislike of illness and making me appreciate and like and long for health, that he is creating me with this. It means what? Then I can start asking the question that will lead me to the healer, the Shafi. He wants me to seek the source of healing, not to seek health in this world. And I remain like, my connection with the world and with events remain horizontal, and it doesn't go anywhere. It's not transcendence. It does not leave the world. And it's, even if I find health in the world, it's still deep down. There is something in me that remains like a black hole that is nothing satisfied, because that thing in me, that ruh, that soul, longs for eternal, meaningful health, the health that is coming from him, a health, not only health, but health with mercy, health with love, health with friendship, health with meaning, health with purpose. All the beautiful names have to be together with that health for it to be complete and to satisfy um, the human heart. And we can apply this to any event, inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah. What you said about the horizontal thing, to connect it with the vertical, that is precisely what gives peace. And that's the reason
Exactly. Yes.
I
Yes.
try to, that's what I was trying to say, because whatever the beautiful things you said today, I feel nowadays we need to connect these ayats. When people come with their frustrations, I just tell them that the taqwa, the consciousness, because there's reason if these things are happening. We need to reflect, just as we need to, just what you said about where the wind is coming from, and it's not just a wind blowing, it's blowing from a source. So the events are also like the wind, whatever is happening politically or universally or globally, and we have to remember that it's coming from God. We reflect on it and we do just what we're supposed to do, with thinking that it's ultimately all good, because it's giving us reflection, just like the health example you gave, it's giving us reflection. So the horizontal and the vertical thing that you brought in, that's exactly what I was referring to, that I would feel these, inshallah, if these ayats that you explicate, will be more relevant when we go from nature and transfer it with a constant reference to the body. Yeah.
Definitely, of course. We start there, but of course we are going to apply whatever it's going to transform how we view everything, inshallah. Yes, inshallah. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. Inshallah, we'll stop here next week. Inshallah, we'll see the condition of the believers starting with 15. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا وأخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إسرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم. وعليكم السلام.
Jazakumullah khair, Sister Yamina. And thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Is there anyone else who wants to ask a question or share a comment, or maybe we'll note it for the next session? I guess it's a bit late. So maybe, inshallah, please note down if you had a question, or please go ahead. Please go ahead if you had something.
Assalamu alaikum. It's a point
Wa
that maybe we could discuss the next time if there's no time. Yamina's last point about if I don't like illness, then connecting with the source of this dislike. How does this relate to the general question of guilt, responsibility, and our share of creating negative realities for ourselves? So because it might be perceived, one element might come across that, okay, if I don't like this, or I like that, or if I feel like this or I feel like that, it's all from God. Then and it ends there. Where is the sense of guilt? I don't want to drag you into this right now, but maybe if you want to incorporate this next time or any time.
Yeah, inshallah. And you can remind me next time, we can start with it, because that's why I started with perception of fact, because in my perception, my guilt or my responsibility could be, part of it could be my misperception of the facts, right? And so I could, when I say it's from God, if it's because of my misperception, it can't be from God. But let's talk about it, inshallah. It's from my own, it could be my own delusion. And of course, there is an element of responsibility. That's why there is the istighfar, the asking for forgiveness all the time. Not only for what we do outwardly, potentially we may do, but also lots of what we do and that affects not only our health, but all our life, is we do it internally. It starts with thoughts and feelings and beliefs. And that's why the Iman is at the core of, before there is Ihsan, there is Iman. When Iman is lacking, there is a belief there, but there is a false belief. So we always have beliefs about everything. They could be false beliefs, they could be true beliefs. And no one is responsible for my false beliefs except myself, because a false belief is a lie. It doesn't exist. No one is responsible for it except the one who is making it up. And not only I'm responsible, but I'm also not the victim, but, well, in a sense, I could say I will be wronging myself, because I will be, the consequences of that will be my burden. That's why this path of following divine guidance and purification from false beliefs is so meaningful at so many different levels. But actually, if you have like a particular example, it would be easier to talk about next week, because otherwise we'll be theorizing about something, talking, generalizing about things, if you see what I mean. Does it make sense?
Inshallah.
But it is a very important and profound question. Thank you.
Thank you for the question and for the initial answer. Inshallah, the conversation will continue. Is there anyone else who would like to also put a question or or a comment on the table before you forget, and then we can discuss it next time. Okay, so if not, then we will inshallah stop here and continue next week. And in the meantime, may Allah make us among those who reflect and take heed of His signs inwardly and outwardly, inshallah. Dr. Yamina.
Jazakallah kulla khair. It was beautiful as usual.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Wa alaikum.